Welcome. We're here at the ARC European Industry Forum in beautiful Sitges in Spain, just south of Barcelona. And I'm here with Alexandra Baleta from VMware today. And Alexandra, your company has sponsored the forum. Thank you very much for that. And you've also arranged for some very interesting speakers to share what's going on in industry, especially with the impact of commercial IT technology coming finally to industry. Can you say a few words about yourself first before, and then I got some questions for you.
Yeah, sure, and thank you for having us here at the forum. So I'm responsible for EMEA industry at VMware, and my role is really to connect VMware's portfolio with what the industry requires and the market demands that we need to meet from a technology perspective. So to your point, there's a lot of experience that VMware's got on the data center and the traditional IT side, but what we're now seeing is that really on the OT side, on the factory level in the field, we need to make changes to be more sustainable, more flexible, and more resilient. And that's exactly why we're here, to really talk to the industry and bring those requirements back to our corporate lab.
VMware is a big company. It's very well known in the IT world, but some people are surprised to see an IT company at an industry forum. What can VMware offer to industry users?
Yeah, very much so. So we're a traditional, as you said, we're a traditional player in the virtualization of data centers, in the virtualization of workloads. What we've seen is that the industry actually has come to us to say, well, how can we apply what we've learned on the IT side and what we really benefit from on the IT side, on the OT side? So how can we virtualize our environment, right? We do have a lot of hardware stacks. We do still rely on very traditional architecture. The ISO 95 is very much a very hierarchical structure that currently doesn't really suit the flexibility and the change that's going on in industry, let alone the sustainability of all that CO2 footprint that we currently have in our factories. So here's really where VMware has come into play to say, well, actually, let's take what we've got on the IT side into the factory environment. So really map what we've got on the IT, the data center side, into an OT factory type edge environment.
When I think of a typical factory architecture today, there's a lot more software than there used to be. I like to say there used to be no software. We used to be a purely hardware-driven industry, and in the past 20 years, there's been just an explosion in non-time critical software. To me, it makes sense to introduce an architecture that manages that software properly, the way it's done in the rest of the world. But what about for time-critical applications? Are we ready yet to virtualize, for example, control systems, DCSs, PLCs, or is that coming?
No, we're starting, and I guess, again, that's been a work of the last 2 years, is to really say, well, what we've done on the IT side, to your point, how does it map to a real-time requirement, right? We do know that there's a low latency, there's a safety and security requirement at the control, especially at the control level. So it really takes a village now, not just VMware, to come together and start virtualizing that level. So when we work with the OEMs out there in the market, such as the Siemens, the Rockwells, the ABBs, we can now start to virtualize that environment, those stacks, to really abstract the hardware and the software. And that's what the industry really demands. If you're looking into the automotive industry or the pharmaceutical industries, they need to be very flexible in terms of how they run the plants, how they run their production processes, and that's where this sort of software-defined manufacturing aspect really comes into play.
Okay. When I think of the huge spectrum of industries and applications we have, from oil fields with huge DCS control systems, but also discrete areas where we have machine builders that deliver a complete machine with a closed control system that later becomes part of a longer line or part of a larger plant. What applications are the first ones that you expect to see virtualized? Where does it make sense at the very beginning, industry or application?
Yeah, I mean, the typical, I would say that the level 3 layer right and above is the MES systems, the SCADA systems that are being virtualized, consolidated, and ideally made cloud-like for easy consumption across a global footprint. But then you also get down to the HMI system level or HMI application level, and then further down to the control levels, to the PLCs. But what we see is mostly the consolidation around all these Windows industrial PCs out there in the factories that are thousands in different versions that need to be maintained on a regular basis. And even if you consolidate those few thousands, that takes a lot of man hours out of your maintenance, plus the maintenance windows that obviously are costly to any factory.
You brought a speaker with you today. I've been following this gentleman's speeches and presentations for a number of years, and I'm fascinated by what he's doing. Can you tell us about the speaker, who he is, and what do you expect him to present today?
Yeah, sure. We're fortunate to have Dr. Henning Lerser with us from Audi. He's head of the Production Innovation Lab at Audi, or 360 Lab now, so called. And he's driving the vision of Audi, actually running a software-defined factory and creating that footprint that will then apply not only for the Audi group, but potentially for all automotive OEMs out there in the market. And that's really based on, let's try and eliminate that hardware footprint that we've got. Let's try and eliminate all these silos that we have for different applications, right? Every time an application is being sourced, there's a different stack currently in the factory. So let's consolidate all of that into one, or running on one platform, so that we can manage and flexibly upgrade, control, etc., that footprint across the global environment. And I think to that point, there's not only a flexibility aspect, there's not only a resilience aspect, but then also the sustainability and the security aspect, right? If you're looking at all these silos, your security posture is extremely exposed. So if you're able to consolidate and optimize that footprint, then obviously you have a much stronger position.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to his presentation today. There's a lot happening in the industry. Thanks very much for being here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the forum.
Thank you very much. Thank you.